All right, we are live, guys. So I think the most important thing, right, apart from doing your own research, you have to start identifying what a scam looks like, whether it's a person or whether it's a platform. It's very, very hard to tell until you've experienced it yourself. So this is kind of like the few scams that I've experienced throughout my time in crypto. Very quickly, you want to see the website, right? From a website perspective, if anything that relates to giving you a ROI and guaranteeing you an ROI, like that will usually be spotted in the first few lines. Because if you are a sheep, you will always look for the how much are you going to get for how much money you're going to put in. There's going to be investment packages, right? So this is the number one thing. If there's going to be a scam or a scheme that gives you a quick ROI from the very get-go with no founders team, there's no one talking about the product. You can have products that are on Twitter, you can have products that are on Facebook, YouTube. It doesn't matter where it comes from. You are going to see for the fact that these schemes are created with no faces, and most of the time it's always a promise of a return. Okay, so that's number one. Now number two is a bit harder, a little bit more sophisticated. It boils down to a whole emotional build-up towards the anticipation of investing. So how this works is pretty simple. You come across a token, right? And this token has a decent budget. It's gonna be from the smaller YouTubers, right, all the way up to maybe a decent amount of followers or subscribers. These YouTubers will then start to talk about it, all right, whether they are monetarily incentivized or not, or perhaps they really are just genuinely degenerate, right? Because in crypto, to be quite frank, you have to start off as a degen. If you don't start off as a degen, you don't really experience the highs and the lows. So let's say you mature up. The mature crypto influencers will not be the ones who will share this, right? I sincerely believe that these are the ones that have a certain level of integrity, and they will do quite a bit more due diligence versus a smaller crypto channel. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't see the likes of the BitBoy crypto folks. You have very old school ones like, I think, I just forget who they are because they're just so. You just remember them the moment you mention, but there are just so many scammers out there that after a while you're just like, okay, you see the ones that are still doing content now. Like I think Box Mining has transitioned towards educational videos, right? And he's sharing about in the developments of the space. Then you have folks who are like Luke Belmar, who focuses on trading, entrepreneurship, developing personal skills, health, more holistic, right? So they have a better revenue model versus a smaller YouTube channel or crypto channel that focuses more on shilling tokens all the time. So I guess it boils down to you and how much you trust that channel. So for example, right, if a crypto channel is just shilling some random coin and you look at the token, right, go back to rule number one. Is it giving too much in terms of staking, for example? Like for example, it has a very high staking reward. Okay, it's churning out tokens very, very easily, which is pretty normal because this day and age, if you look at staking rewards, right? In the past, staking rewards are ridiculous. The APY, right, could be as high as 30% per month. All right, so it's just the supply of those tokens are just so high that they don't mind being generous. They can create X amount, billions of tokens in terms of its supply. And then from then, you go and start mining it, okay? Or you start staking. You need to buy in order to stake, right? So it's a perfect way of selling the token. The next thing, you have to identify how are you interacting? How is your wallet interacting with the site? This is always the scary part. So I would always suggest that you segregate your MetaMask wallets to the speculative gambly account, and then make sure your main account is like the main reserves are nowhere near the speculative account. No harm putting in $100-$200 into something that could potentially make you a few $1,000, because pump and dump schemes are like that, right? Now, this is pretty okay, right? It's pretty okay until your mental state gets the better of you. So when your mental state is not right, you're not here to have fun. You're like thinking that this is gonna take you to the next level in terms of your net worth. It could potentially free your family from poverty or whatever, right? You start taking money from other people and you start going all in. That is when the scammers, right, have already gotten hold of your mind, right? They already know that you are greedy, you are desperate, and you're gonna put in more money than you should. Okay? So this is the part where it gets painful, because there are just too many people who step into this state. For example, long ago it was called BitConnect. Like, there was so many schemes that I can remember back in the day, but right now it's all just like, it's just generalized to me, at least. Whether you remember the name or not, it doesn't matter. Then of course you have the more high level ones, like how Do Kwon created that whole ecosystem, right? Being an intelligent individual, and he created the whole Terra Luna ecosystem, and then from there you start investing in it. So I think for a start, a lot of folks are drawn, right, to the fact that how come things can be doing so well. And most of the time when you speak to the smart ones, right, they know that it's a Ponzi. The good thing is that they also have a take profit or cut loss, just in case things turn south or turn sour. You're looking at the TVL, okay, the total value locked most of the time. And the moment the total value lock starts moving out, so perhaps you can create a certain API, right, that tracks the total value lock in a particular ecosystem. The moment the TVL starts moving out, right, because those are the ones that have the information first, they are going to pull out their funds first, okay? So you create an API that can monitor this, this particular ecosystem, this wallet. From there, you are alerted, oh, okay, shit, big funds are being pulled out. So you are able to kind of get a signal before the whole boat sinks. And trust me when I say this, guys, there's no loyalty. There is zero loyalty that you should have unless you have followed this particular developer, founder for a good number of years. And even then, the intent is very important. The intent of an individual, right, determines the path towards how driven are they to build and create value, or how driven they are to put your money in their pocket. And that's the thing, right? When it's being done remotely most of the time, right, these people, that's why I always wonder, where is the team, right, who develops a particular project? If there is no way for me to even have a proper trial, if this thing turns south, right, I wouldn't even bother to invest. Like, I wouldn't even put my money in, because it makes no sense for me, because I know that that accountability isn't there. So they know that they can just wrap up and fly off to some place in Belarus or whatever. No issues like whatsoever, because I'm in Singapore. I cannot get them to stand trial, even if I send them a lawyer letter, because it's a totally different jurisdiction. So unless it's of course big enough. For example, SBF, right, started out in the US, okay? He is a US citizen. His parents are from the US, you see? So there's just so much locked in. And for him to show that level of negligence, it kind of wasn't very smart of him to pull funds from Alameda Research, to pull funds from FTX and pay off Alameda's mistakes, right? So that was the part that where it started to go wrong. At the same time, I think in terms of mismanagement and all that, you can go and watch the documentaries, the many documentaries that are out there. Okay, so now the next thing is, I think when we are going to start investing in this space, we try to allocate a certain amount of liquid cash. This liquid cash is money that you really do not need. I would strongly suggest that this amount be like as if you go to the casino. Why? Because when you go to the casino, right, you are just there to have fun. In crypto, you actually can learn something, but at the same time, due to the peaks and the dumps, you're gonna be in a situation where you may or may not be able to cash out quickly enough. I'd be very frank, because there are times when your wallet could be compromised, the amount that is being locked in the platform, right, is gonna be utilized, and you can't even pull out the funds, right? That's just the way it is. So you can utilize DeFi swaps. Okay, the DeFi swaps at this point, or DeFi exchanges, I would say Uniswap. Uniswap has decent liquidity. You have Curve, and I think PancakeSwap still functions, but I think their liquidity isn't really that great. But these are the few. Aave as well. There are other DeFi swaps, but I haven't completely looked at all of them. When you look at any particular DeFi project, right, especially or DeFi platform, try to understand that you are not required to have, there's no central wallet. So when there's no central wallet, you don't have to dedicate your funds there. Okay, so that being said, you have this set of rule set. Now, the hard part is when you get too convinced by a particular founder. So in the many years in crypto, there are people who I respect, and there are people who I used to respect. Okay, because their mindset changed. They are when they are the ones that, okay, have that good intention to build something, right? And till today, they still show and display that character, right? Because they made money, and they still are making money in other aspects of business. Now the other side is, you meet them when they have not made their very first pot of gold, and after you start meeting them, they start talking different, they start dressing different, they start just acquiring things that they have never acquired before. And then you have people like SBF that made a lot of money but never really displayed that character, where he was always dressed very plainly and simply, but he was spending behind the scenes. So this is the part where it gets a bit scary, right? How do you tell? I think you don't. The moral of the story here is that you protect yourself, your mental state, and how you manage your risks, right? So when I'm going to be investing in a particular company or a token, I ask myself, why am I investing in it? What has attracted to me? Is it a team that I am aligned with? So for example, I am now very big into health and mental health, right? Telemedical. These are things that I know are going to be part of the future, because when COVID happened, right, a lot of people required assistance in terms of working from home, and you started working out from home as well. Okay, so you know that for a fact that this model works. And at the same time, if people who are in a certain medical state, right, they need to have medical assistance from home. Okay, so I'm just giving you an example. So I would be in line with that. And if I happen to see projects that make sense, because sometimes the blockchain or token related products you don't really need a token for everything. I think until now I've repeated this, you don't need a token for everything. Now people like to, and when I speak to founders, I said, you already got a great product, right? You can really start having a subscription model, or you are having some kind of revenue where you're selling the product and then people are paying you, right? Why do you even need to release a token? Why do you even need to issue a token? Oh, because it helps me to raise more funds. From there, I can get a community involved. And when I get the community involved, it helps me to drive more traffic. Okay, sure. But having a token, right, is a very, it to me is a red flag. It's slightly a bit of a red flag, especially if you are in a business where you don't need a token. Because the tokens allow founders to very quickly raise capital. And because you're minting tokens from thin air. You mint tokens from thin air, an X amount, and because you are such a charismatic individual, you are seemingly intelligent, usually, right? If you are able to kind of if you are even able to sell your tokens, right, you have built up a certain level of reputation, because that in itself is also a product, right? And from there, how you position the token sales is quite important. So the moment that you have successfully raised money through token sales, right, where is the real incentive to continue building? That is my concern. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay, you don't like comment much when you are looking from outside and hoping to invest and putting your money in. You have to go with the flow, because if this particular token is in and picked up by the right influencers, or picked up by the right exchanges, right, or listed on the right exchanges, and when the market comes and they are in the right period, like literally it's just like a perfect storm, the token is just going to fly. So you have to be open-minded in a sense, but also be very mindful that you can't really trust everything you see, because they are not someone that you live with. They are not someone that displays their character, and that's why a lot of people love to go drinking, because when they have drinks with someone, it kind of shows a different character from the person that you're sitting with sober, right? Because let's say if you're in a business setting, there's no alcohol, it's just like discussions, right, with just coffee, water, people are able to kind of put on that mask. But the moment you open them up to drinks or certain vice, for example, I wouldn't say drinking is vice, but we just put it as they love alcohol, right? That's their thing. Or it could be women, it could be doing drugs of some sort. Then you start seeing their character, like what they really like. Are they aggressive? Are they really quiet? Do they start crying? It's very, very interesting, but you will never get the chance to really do that until you're very connected. Nobody wants to show that side of themselves until they're very comfortable with you, all right? So these are just things that you may or may not know, right? Especially if you are someone who already starts, who is kind of moving up in life, right? You're going to start experiencing all this when you start meeting people in your business, or you're going to experience these kind of people when you're trying to get into a particular circle, right? When you're trying to get into a particular circle, there's always the rites of passage. So there's always that dude that will start, bringing you in, trying to sell you stuff, just planting that seed. Some are just very eloquent and smooth, and some are just more point blank and very easy to read. You're going to see all that in this crypto space. And I'm quite happy to see like certain folks that I've never liked, who are now not enjoying the fruits of their ill-begotten gains, right? Especially just, and what I'm always very confused is that people enjoy this. I think people take it as entertainment also, right? Because I see the followers are just so crazy, right? When I see the followers of some crypto influencers just having tens of thousands, right? And they are just shilling shit all the time, but they just get the views, right? Because I think it's just the way they are as a persona, as a character, right? And I realized, okay, that I guess most people don't give a shit too much about the good stuff all the time. That's why maybe my channel never really flew, because I only share all the good stuff, and I share things that are kind of like, okay, me as a father figure talking to you, or me as a bigger brother talking to you. I'm just trying to prevent things from happening. So it becomes like, this dude is pretty naggy. This I know all this already. It's just like me talking to my daughter, right? Where I already know for a fact that this shit is gonna happen if you continue to do it. But I guess, I don't want my daughter to get hurt. Same thing, I treat you guys like, my brothers, sisters, my father or my mother. I don't want you guys to get hurt. So since I already got hurt, right, and I share this with you, I don't want you to get scammed, but I guess sometimes it's inevitable because you need to get scammed in order to experience, and then you like, oh, Ryan, you are right. So I realized that one of my pet peeves, which is like when I share the information with people and then they kind of don't take it to heart, right? Because end of the day, I am just a dude in on your YouTube channel, right? I am just a dude. You don't know me, and maybe what I said was accurate, and then the exact same shit that I told you happened. You're experiencing it. You're literally in it. But then when it actually happens to you, right? Then you realize, oh wow, that dude Ryan, he actually spoke about it, and that's just the way it is. It's no different, right, from me, right, becoming fat. I used to always not want to. I was always worried about becoming fat. That was something that I did not want and I did not expect, but it did happen to me. Now, why am I concerned and why I turn things around, right? Because I felt that if I started to put on weight, right, I know for a fact as an older individual, I don't have that luxury. My body is no longer at its peak to turn things around. So I was like, why the hell of all times did I get fat, right, in my mid 30s to my early 40s? That is like, to be quite frank, after reading all this, you are at your peak when you're at your 30s to your 40s, not when you're 18 to 19, You're at your peak in the sense that, okay, you still have the best testosterone, so on and so forth, but it starts dropping after 40, or at least late 30s. And I kind of wasted all that because of the whole crypto market, right? But that's my fault. I'm not blaming anything. It's my fault. I chose to make money. Because I chose to make money, I cannot blame anyone but myself. So I started to turn things around only beginning of last year. Sorry, beginning of this year. I started to turn things around. I started working out from home late last year. That's all. No reasons whatsoever. I just said, oh shit, this is just bad. Because I was someone who was in a kind of comfortable mental state. So I think for start, you need to start identifying people that talk in a certain way, right? You need to speak to more people who speak in a certain way. You need to also identify how scammers, salesmen, clear-cut salesmen talk. And I think the latest one is, I think people are saying, which is Chamath, right? Chamath is a kind of high-level investor. So he invested in Tesla, in Amazon very early. He was a Facebook executive, and then recently, I think very recently, he started shilling SPACs, right? SPAC, special purpose acquisition. So it's basically pooling, where you are allowing retail investors to pool money together to invest in certain IPOs, where in the past, right, you kind of don't have that access unless you are of a private banking level, okay, or at least you are a family office level, because the private banks will have the allocation. From there, it will sell it to the banks, and the bankers will start calling up the high net worth clients so that they can enter the IPO. Okay, so that's usually at the last round just before listing. For Chamath to launch specs, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I'm Chamath, right? Everybody knows me as a billion-dollar investor. I make very good decisions. So you see, the persona is like that. Nobody, to be frank, nobody does not know Chamath if they are in the world of investing and venture capitalists, right? And when you say that it's a scam, unfortunately, no, it isn't. But if he wasn't very honest in disclosing certain things about certain companies, because there were a total of 4 IPOs, Virgin Galactic, you have, I think, Clover Health, you have some, I think some kind of open concept, like Open Door or some shit. So there's total of 3, I can only remember 3 out of the 4. Oh, and SoFi, right? SoFi, which is a banking and finance kind of app, or at least fintech related stuff. And all of them are not doing well. So you have people who are maybe not so savvy. They already know him as a billion dollar investor. He's like, the maybe the potential Warren Buffett. I don't know. But end of the day, all these stocks are currently underwater. Like we're talking about, I think 80-90% down, right, from their IPO listing. And he got a commission for every single IPO that he sold. So it's about 20% from his sponsor fee, right? He gets 20%. He gets some shares as well. So I think he pocketed roughly about 2.1 B total. Okay, so it's not a scam, unfortunately, because there's an actual product. He was selling you the IPO. He was selling you the idea, right? That these companies could be the next. And the way he did it, especially when he has access to sitting in front of CNBC, sitting in front of Bloomberg, and shilling his specs. Because he is, after all, the sponsor. He's going to sit there in public, and of course, he has to sell it. And him being him, when he started saying this is kind of like, I see this as the next 10x, the next Tesla, this could be the next Amazon of whatever. It's pretty similar, don't you think? When you are in crypto and you have founders talking exactly the same way. We are the Amazon of what? We are the next Ethereum. We are the potential next Bitcoin. Anything that has done 100x, 10x, right? In crypto, it'll be worse because they are going to say that our multipliers are going to be decent. Look at the way we have created our supply. Oh, we're going to have founders lock up. Whatever it is, you be smart. You allocate funds that you want to play with. And then if things don't turn out right, you go about your day. You still focus on building your health. Continue to nourish yourself, get strong, get fit. Build your mental state, right? Make sure that your mental state is strong. Continue to read. Continue to see how things are evolving, right? Like these days, I actually use a lot of things with ChatGPT. It's pretty good. Like, for example, I had to revamp this whole channel, right? I wanted to revamp it and I wanted to start talking about things that are more holistic. So I had to do the whole description again. I was like, shit, my brain was like, what do you want me to type? So I just asked ChatGPT, help me type a description based on whatever, and I refined it, and there you go. So you see, guys, AI is definitely something that you have to invest in. Like you want to get involved in some AI related stock or AI token. So for example, I mentioned if there's any incorporation of AI stuff like legit AI and machine learning in the crypto space, those tokens are definitely going to fly. Okay, I'm just going to tell you straight up. And also all the DeFi marketplaces, NFT marketplaces, when things become hot and degen again, those things will be hot as well. Anything that is revenue generating. Now, okay, I'm going to speak about revenue generating, right? Revenue generating projects are going to be, to me, right, whether they actually use the revenue to buy back the tokens, right, is going to be quite tough to determine. When these founders say they're going to do it, right, my question is why though? Like why? Like, we've been making a shit ton of money. Like, for example, Rollbit. Rollbit is a casino, right? So why would I want to, take this X amount of revenue and burn the tokens? You're gonna say, oh no, I want to do it because we've been making such a shit ton of money and everything like that. At some point, guys, a casino without a license is gonna have to shut down because it's just the way it is, right? And it may not shut down as long as there are people coming in, right? There's people coming in. I'm not saying Rollbit will, but I'm just saying that at the end of the day, you're now buying into the token as well. Whether the token gives you whatever benefit, you have cheaper fees, you have one-for-one deposit. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't touch these kind of stuff. I will not. Right? And yes, it has revenue. I believe so because everybody wants to play, and it's from the comfort of their home, right? You will go and try an online casino, and as long as the casino is paying out, and I've always thought, why do people do that though? Because they know that the algorithm will always make them lose. But I guess it's just the thrill. It's just the fun. It's just the fun. But I'm not going to contribute to it. But that's just me. So let's say you bought into Robit tokens, right? And the token is just going to do well because they're going to gradually take away the supply and burn the supply through the revenue that they're making each and every month or every quarter. I don't know what's their burn, but it's very standard, right? So the token price could potentially go up. But the thing is, people who are holding the tokens will know and want to dump it every time that there's a burn. Because when they're holding the tokens, they bought the tokens maybe at 0.03 cents or 0.04 cents. Now I know that it's about 21 cents, okay? It has already 5x already, 5 to 7x from the low. So people who have bought from 0.01 to 0.03 are already dumping already. They are not waiting for you. And then you will be like thinking, oh, okay, maybe I should give it a shot. Not saying that it cannot go higher. Things can get really stupid and things can get really crazy when the crypto market becomes a bull market. So all you have to identify is make sure that the money that you put in, right, there's a reasonable take profit so that you can roll that capital back in. And you can obviously add on to it and build a bigger stack each time. Now remember to have a goal in mind of what you need to clear off financially or what you need to set you financially comfortable for at least a good number, depending on how much you're putting in, right? And depending on what are your monthly liabilities. It's very straightforward. It's always rent, it's always utilities, it's always food, right? Because food prices are just so crazy these days, okay? It is just expensive. Right? So you want to set aside all these things when you really make that kind of money, and then it's like you free roll, at least your next 3 to 6 months groceries or the next 3 to 6 months rental, it's paid by crypto. I don't know. Have a simple goal. Now, obviously, if you have more to put in, right, then you have to aim bigger. Like, okay, I want to clear my mortgage. Shit, this interest rate for my mortgage right now, I'm a young couple, I'm a young family, and I'm able to kind of I just bought a home, and somehow you have maybe some liquidity set aside to have fun. You probably have to discuss it with your other half or whatever to get the approval. She may or may not agree, but all these things are, like I said, questionable, right? It's always questionable. Maybe they are okay, like, okay, honey, you know what, you can maybe use $5,000 or $10,000 to try, and if it doesn't work out, you stop, and you must respect that decision. Because if you break that trust or putting how much money into this market, right, it's very easy for things to be really great at the beginning, and then things can turn south almost the same night that things are awesome. And this is something that you need to identify. All right, so we've covered the schemes, scams, scammers, right? And it's all about how you segregate your play money and have your goals in place. At the same time, like I said, your mindset, change your mindset, and things will turn out really, really well for you. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next live stream.